All right, all right. This is Marcus Monero here at the Cryptocosm. I'm here with Singh, Kehal. Did I pronounce it right? Kehal?
You did, thank you.
Okay, cool, cool. All right. Yeah, anyways, I excited to bring you in because I wanted to ask you some questions about events. And the particular question is, as you know, I'm in the crypto blockchain space. And you know what? I want to start my own event here in Dubai because I know it's happening. And one of the main questions I want to ask you is, how can I start my own event? Should I do like a kind of like just a typical event, just like a in-person event? Should I just do totally virtual, or does this hybrid thing work out? So I'll like to leave that open question to you. But before that, can you give us an origin story about yourself and how you got into the event space?
Thank you, Marcus, for having me on your show. Yeah, so I've actually been doing events for a pretty long time. I used to work at Microsoft, did that for about 8, 9 years. Actually ended up in Dubai a few times doing events there as well. So I was in a worldwide team where pretty much every 2 weeks I was on an airplane somewhere, right? So got to see a lot of fun places and meet amazing people all across the world. But the one thing I realized with the format that most events were following was that there was still a lot of room for improvement and the ability to scale the reach of those events. And so kind of set out to create a virtual / hybrid events platform. We were been at it for the last few years, and certainly we did get, traction. But again, come COVID in 2020 is when we got like a massive hockey stick growth. We went from about 25 people to about 230 people in a matter of 4 months. We have, from like about 10 customers to like 130 customers in a matter of 5, 6 months, and our revenue grew upwards of 1,500% or so in the year over year. So the point is, massive growth from our perspective, and our industry overall grew. I think this digital so-called transformation was supposed to happen. But what was supposed to happen over a period of 4 or 5 years happened in 4 or 5 months. Everything got kind of expedited, and we were all of us, I guess, across the world were thrown into this new way of doing things. Now, when it comes to events per se, I would say, yes, 2020 was mostly virtual. 2021, we are seeing a lot more hybrid. We are actually doing a series of events for the United Nations across the world. There is one event going on right now called COP26, which is, in Glasgow, the Global Climate Change Conference. That is a hybrid event, right? So there's thousands and thousands of people who are in person, and then there's 5x of those from all over the world online. It's a great example of a hybrid event, right? So when you posed the question earlier about, if you want to do an event for crypto, how would you go about it? So I think it's very simple. End of the day, crypto, the movement overall, the blockchain movement, the cryptocurrency movement is all based on community, right? So getting the people together, having them, yes, there is a bunch of online communities that are already established, right? But there's a lot of people who are at different parts of the spectrum when it comes to crypto and blockchain. There's a lot of people who are brand new. There's a lot of people who've had a lot of experience over the last few years. So, it's just about being able to pull together a online format where, you have your community, perpetual community ongoing, always on, but you also continue to do these events, so-called. There might be a monthly event that goes on in there, and then every quarter there's an in-person get-together as well, right? So it's the ability to have a community, having a dialogue, an ongoing dialogue, and then maybe every month there's a theme, and you talk about, okay, this time you're going to talk about blockchain in banking, and how is it, changing in terms of cryptocurrencies and so forth. And next month we're going to talk about, the hottest new cryptocurrencies or whatever it be. So it could be like a half-day event with like a few really cool speakers who can talk about that stuff, right? So it's kind of like injects energy into that community, right? So you can have and then you could have an annual conference where everybody gets together in Dubai, right? And or a quarterly conference, small ones in other places, and then a big massive one at the end of the year or something of that kind, right? So it's all about, I think the format is not should it be virtual or in person or hybrid. It's all about engaging your audience, right? So by just having a one event, a big massive event a year, which is traditionally how most people have done across many industries, they throw like this big, massive event once a year. I don't really know if that's as effective, because the point is you lose touch with your community until next year, right? So the point is, why not keep that connection going, have your big massive online event, but then have this always on a virtual, experience where you can keep on having smaller events and keep on keeping that community very engaged.
Okay, no, that's interesting. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you when you talk about about instead of having like a one massive event, because I've seen many over here that I think about like 50 or 60 blockchain events. I mean, you can imagine there are other industries that have their own events and stuff. So, because I've been to some are interesting, but also others, like this. There are like 4 or 5 events happening at the same time. So I guess my next question is in terms of marketing the event and trying to, what you talked about, engaging the community, engaging the, I guess, the regular folks out there to come to the events and stuff. So, do you have any ideas, or what tips do you have for those who are trying to improve the engagement for their events?
Yeah, makes a lot. So I think, again, let's just maybe go back to what is an event, right? I mean, why do people go to one? So the point is that an event, I guess we call it, has 3 major pillars. The first one being content, right? So which is, I want to hear from the best of the best in my industry. I really want to learn, and I think that is certainly always a draw, which is, okay, well, here's the people who are going to be speaking at the event, right? So that is certainly people look forward to that. But then that is what I refer to as the spark. That's not the fire. The real fire is when you take that spark and, those chosen few, like, excite the audience. But then the second immediate thing that needs to happen after that is the ability for all of your attendees to take that learning and then discuss among themselves and learn from each other, right? Because the chosen few, 4 to 5% of the people at the event, get to talk. And then 95% of the people just sit there looking at them as if you're in kindergarten. But that's not the case, right? There's so much knowledge in this community of people. So you have to harness that collective knowledge of the community. So get the sessions going, but then give lots of avenues for the attendees, the other 95% people in the event, to actually take that knowledge, break into smaller groups, and be able to discuss those things, and really create their own, view and vision of, what that means. Once they've done that, the next immediate thing that people are looking for is like, okay, great, I heard from the experts. I took that knowledge, shared it among my community of people. We had roundtables, we did all sorts of fun, deep dives, workshops into some of those topics. Now I'm really prepared to actually take action. So the next thing would be, okay, I want to work with, vendors in the space who can help me create, a blockchain around X, Y, or Z. So then the immediate thing is, who are the, I want to take action now. So who are the vendors in the space? Who are the experts in this space who I could actually talk to about next steps, right? So learn, network, and share best practices, and then put things into action with the help of the, the vendors and the solution providers in the community. So if you can pull all these 3 things together, they don't need to be in a format traditionally like events have been. How we think about the new age of events is that there should be a pre-event phase where a lot of your intro content, like the very, very basic 100 level content, should all be put online. It's super cheap to do that, right? And then also give the ability for people to connect with each other. So you're watching content online, all the basic 100 level content is done. You're connecting with others, who are there, so that before you come to the actual event, you already have a really good idea about the content. Your mind is already sparked, you've already met a few people, you already have some side meetings already set up. So you're not going there with like 1,000 business cards and doing that whole spray and pray networking deal, right? We all know about that.
Right. Yeah.
So the point is,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's our biggest waste of time. So the point is, you already want to know who are your 20 people you're going to meet there. And you've already set up those calls and those meetings and everything else. Now, the people who did the 100 level content presentation in the beginning, you can schedule time with them for a deeper dive into that, because, right? So making the in-person event a place where you actually take action, not, hey man, what do you guys do? That should all happen online for super cheap before you come to the event, right? So that's what I'm referring to when it comes to creating real value. When somebody's going to fly in, spend all that money, all that time, don't just give them 100 level PowerPoint presentations, and a glass of wine. I mean, yeah, it's great, but believe me, with the amount of events that are going on right now, and especially with virtual coming into the picture, you're not going to get a lot of people to do that for too long,
No, I agree with you. Yeah. No, because because for me, when I come to events, one of the things I do is I try to see, okay, what are the speakers, and try to absorb some of the speakers. I know they have their own, their bio links or link trees or whatever, or, what the stuff they're working on, and I try to see if there's some people who are really matched to my persona or to my particular interests, So because that's something I haven't seen over here in Dubai, but I looked at Social27, and you have your format, and how correct me wrong, you have like your boardrooms and other you have your segmentation. I know it's the right word, but could you elaborate? I think particularly you have this thing called I think it's like a proprietary service where you can match attendees to the companies. Could you go dive deep into that? I think that'll be something people would like to I think really learn.
Makes a lot of sense, Marcus. So it all kind of stems from when we re-architected our solution in 2019, keeping in mind the trends that we were seeing across the world when it comes to just regular life, right? So what is an event? An event is equal to content consumption and networking. So now, what are the best use cases of content consumption that we all enjoy in our daily lives? Spotify is a great example. YouTube, Netflix, and so forth, right? So, and when it comes to online networking, LinkedIn is a pretty awesome place to do that, right? So the point is, now we took the experiences that people enjoy in their daily lives when it comes to content consumption and networking, and we thought about, why do people enjoy these experiences? Now, Spotify gives you access to millions and millions of songs, but you don't have to go and click on each of those songs to hear that, right? So the point is, it understands you, understands your interests, and then puts you together with other few million people who have similar interests and says, hey, Marcus really likes these 8 songs, and so do these other 100, 5,000 people. But they also like this other one song, which Marcus never heard. So I'm going to recommend this other song. Right. So the point is, it's just that the recommendations based upon your activities and based upon your interests is what kind of creates that amazing network effect for us to discover new things and really have a relevant experience. Right. So the goal is, every person in today's world wants, hey, give me tons of stuff, but hey, the system should actually understand my needs and sift through all of that and recommend to me what do you think is most relevant. So that is exactly the same principle that we are using when it comes to our event, philosophy, which is, look, whenever we go to any event, right? So let it even be a 200-person networking event. 200 is not a lot of people. Let it be 50 people. You get a couple of hours to do networking with them. How many people will we ever end up talking to? If we are serious, right? Maybe 5, maybe 10. If you are like a really aggressive networker, you might talk to 10 people in 2 hours.
That is so rare,
right?
though.
Exactly. So the point is, now, what if you could, before you went to that event, you could go to a place where the system auto-matched you and said, look, Marcus, here's your areas of interest. Choose which are the, the top ones for you. And then, hey, by the way, here is, out of those 200 people in there, here is 20 people who you might find interesting. So you start sending them quick messages, and then you figure out, oh wow, these 5 people are perfect for what I'm looking for. So when you go to that 200-person event, you know the 5 people you're supposed to talk to, and that's the best, most relevant use of your time. So in the same way, I mean, our customers do events that are of thousands of people. The average event is 2,000 to 3,000 people. Now that's overwhelming, so like, where do you start? So the point is, the system helps you to recommend to you, okay, well, out of those 2,000 people, here's the 50 you should, look into. Out of those, 100 sessions in here, here's the 20 that we think might be relevant for you. Out of those, 300 booths, inside the expo hall, here's the 50 you should start with. Right. So just having that happen, it really creates more value for the attendee to get to their goals faster. Right. And so it's kind of a good matchmaking on both sides. Yeah.
Yeah, because what you shared is something quite different, because the format that I'm familiar with is, you got like this 3-day event. Before that, you have kind of like a pre-night networking session kind of deal. But again, it's sort of it's sort of rough. I guess for me, it's kind of overwhelming. You just meet a lot of people, but honestly, very rarely I actually click with somebody. But of course, like when you throw in some alcohol and drinks and stuff, okay, everyone sort of loosens up. But if you have the right information and be able to, not spend so much of your, I guess, your brain power and trying to like figure out who's the right person. I think that kind of really helps out a lot. But as far as Social27, do you guys kind of work behind the scenes when it comes to events, or is it full stack?
No, so we offer the platform, right? And then we work with, so in most cases, it is the event owner. And again, in events, there's always a bunch of vendors involved, right? So there is no event company which throws events just by themselves. It's, you hire a bunch of vendors for like a 2 or 3 month period for that event, right? So we are the event owners. We have a bunch of vendors they've hired, to get the event going from all different aspects. So those are the people who actually do the so-called event management and everything else. What we provide is essentially the platform. Think of it as the venue plus the reporting and everything else, right? So yeah, so when anybody has to work with us, we do an agreement. It's an annual agreement, and people can do as many events as they want over that period of time, and they can have a perpetual ongoing community on the event space. So for example, you could do a launch event, and that happens on a certain day for like 2 or 3 days. The community is still open after that, so people can come in later on and still watch the sessions that they missed out on. They can still chat with each other. Maybe you do another event in about a month based upon the learnings of the first event, and so forth, right? So it's like an online community space which has these events going on inside it, to keep that community, excited about stuff, right? So that's kind of the big picture.
Okay, that's interesting though. Yeah. Because I was about to ask about, like, especially with event services, I guess the people who are working within these event companies, have they, how do you say, adopted the hybrid model in terms of events, or is it, or is there some traction, or are they still trying to learn how to do hybrid events?
Yep. So I think in the beginning of 2020, there was nobody new among the event vendors had no idea about virtual, right? I mean, because they never did it before. Like, you tell me how many virtual events you went to in 2019, right? No, there was hardly anything going on. It was all in person. So the point is, 2020 was the year when a lot of the industry learned the new format, right? How to do virtual events and so forth. So I would say at this stage, when we are like about a year and a half or more into this new world, there's lots of people who have figured this out really, really well. We have lots of partners that we work with from the event management space on an ongoing basis. And yeah, they really had no idea a year and a half ago, but they've really learned a lot. And then it's also our job as a platform to share our best practices so that, we know, again, making our customers successful is also important to us.
That's interesting. Yeah. Because I like the part previously you talked about, I guess with with the hybrid events for say B2B events, and you specifically it's the personalization. Like how do you personalize it? But I want to ask you about the future of hybrid events, and the reason I bring this question up is just recently. I'm sure you must have heard of the term Metaverse. With
Yeah.
Facebook changing to Meta, and there's been conversation about the Metaverse and virtual reality. So I was just curious to ask you, like, what is your take on it, and do you see it kind of blend into your world, or do you have aspirations to enter in that space?
Yes, I think very interesting question, Marcus. I mean, actually, somebody else asked me the same question yesterday. So for us, the way we think about this, so there's the metaverse, which is very similar to like a video game simulation where you go and choose your so-called character. I mean, so it's something that has always been there in the video game world, where you chose characters and so forth, but what is happening is that they're trying to bring that into like normal life. So for example, you and me right now, instead of, being like us, we would have been the characters that we feel today, right? So Microsoft just made a bunch of announcements in the last 1 week where they want to bring, characters into like, Microsoft Teams, video calls and all that stuff, right? So you could be like me, I'm right now, or I could, be my character with my own, fantasy world behind me, right? So for me, personally, I think, again, I feel that, first of all, we are not meeting as much in person. At least we're getting to see the real each other. And if on top of that, if I'm only going to get to see like cartoon characters, I don't know, man. I mean, maybe I'm old school. So the point is, but on the other side, I think, but on the other side, I also know very clearly that, I've got a lot of people in my company as well as in my social life who are most comfortable being a character, and they love video games and, they love, having an avatar of themselves, and that's who they are. I mean, they're like, sometimes I might say, well, that's not the real you. Well, they're like, who says that? I mean, you are pretending to be on camera, whoever else you want, right? So the point is, it doesn't mean if you look at the person's real face, it's the real them. The real them could be that character, right? So the point is, I think personally, I fully embrace whatever people want to be, and so with the technologies that are coming in, again, a lot of our technology is based on Microsoft, and some of the announcements that they've made recently about, the metaverse that they are planning on building with what is called Microsoft Mesh, is pretty interesting. And, I would certainly see a version of our platform sometime in the next couple of years, which would have those elements where you can decide if you want to be, your this way or your avatar or whatever else. I mean, people should have the choice to be whoever they want to be.
Okay, actually, I didn't know Microsoft was getting into the metaverse space. What's it called again? Mesh?
So Microsoft Mesh is the technology that is getting used for this, but certainly they just, there were some videos that were shown in the last week or so, where they're showing how the metaverse powered by Microsoft will look like. Yeah.
Okay.
So the difference between the Facebook metaverse and the Microsoft metaverse is that Facebook metaverse is the Facebook walled garden. So you kind of come in there, right, and you work there. Versus the Microsoft metaverse is anybody on Microsoft Teams. So every company creates their own metaverse. So it's like this. It's kind of like the internet, right? So versus Facebook's metaverse is a walled garden. Right, so it's that's the difference. Yeah.
Okay, no, suddenly my imagination just kind of like blown away because I did get where you come from with the Facebook metaverse. It's like, what do you call it, a walled garden? It's just like a closed off environment. But with Microsoft, I guess many other companies who are using Microsoft Teams, for example, they can create their own little worlds and have their own little interbridge. Okay,
yes.
Oh wow, okay. That's no, because I was just thinking about like the metaverse, because to me I'm thinking about like you're wearing like an Oculus headset and you are entering a virtual expo center kind of deal, and I don't know. That's
Yeah, so there is virtual reality, which yes is wearing your headset and everything else. But then there's AR, which is augmented reality, in which what is going to happen is, for example, you will be sitting out there as you are right now. Your
okay.
camera is going to be tracking your face movements, okay?
Yeah.
And but you will don an avatar, right? So you'll become like a cartoon version of you, and but your camera is looking at you, it's taking your voice, and it's also taking your face movements and moving the avatar accordingly, right? So you don't need a headset for that. So basically, but that's it's a cartoonish universe. It's not like in virtual reality. In many cases, they have like something which is very real looking, So it's just a bit different, yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's fascinating, and I'm just curious to know, like, I mean, obviously that's going to be possible in the virtual event space, but do you have like a time frame? I know it's kind of too early to predict, but what do you think will be the time frame for, say, like a augmented or virtual reality style hybrid event? Do you think it's going to be like a couple of decades or?
No, not at all. It's just all coming in the next few couple of years. We are launching a mobile app very soon, which will have the ability you can pick up your phone and point it at the crowd, in a big conference, and it'll tell you, make people, people's like a icon thing on top of their head. You click on that, you understand who the person is, if they have agreed, that they are okay with it, right? That's because it's consent. And then, it'll tell you in the 50 feet radius that you're standing, here's the 5 people that you should totally talk to. So, I mean, because otherwise, you go in a crowd in an event, you're like, okay, man, who do I start with? You just look around and it'll show you like, here's those people, 6 people at green right next to you, go and chat with them. And click on that, send them a quick hi. It's like, hey, man, I'm in the same room as you. This is my profile. What do you think? Should we have a quick drink? Yeah, why not? So, I mean, that's kind of
okay.
And that's happening with our app. I mean, literally early next year. So that's the beginning of that world. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay. That's pretty exciting, actually. I can definitely see a lot of engagement, a lot of excitement, and also in terms of the social interaction. I think that's really gonna fly high. So I can see that. I can see that happen also over here too. But anyway, actually, I want to like just go back to the I guess the original Social27, and I think what is interesting is I think it was like a 3-person team that started, right? And then from there, like I was just curious about. I mean, it really exploded really fast, and like how you're able to, I guess handle that incredible success and sustain it too. Because your revenues are going up. You got a lot of people onboarding in. So like, with all these changes coming in, like I'm just curious as a CEO, as a co-founder, how you're able to, like maintain that strong foundation and maybe share that wisdom to us,
No, that's a good question. Thank you, Marcus. I think for me, yes, we did grow very, very fast, right from as I said, 20-some person company to about 200 plus people in a matter of 4 months in 10 different countries across the world and all that, right? So very distributed workforce. But I think I'll attribute a lot of the ability to be able to do this comes from a lot of my experience in the past. As I said, I worked at Microsoft for a while. So, that really helped me cement, because we were part of a smaller team which was growing and so forth, right? And so you kind of start understanding the value of processes and the value of, how do you kind of plan some of these things. And so, as I always say, overnight success takes about, 8 years. So the point is, over the last 8 to 10 years, I think it's a lot of learnings. It's a lot of lots of ups and downs. I mean, there were many times we didn't even know how we're going to pay our 20 people, at the end of the month, right? That has not happened once. It has happened, I don't know, multiple times. So the point is, it's just entrepreneurship is an extreme sport. You wake up in the morning and you jump out of an airplane every day. That's how it works. So the point is, it's fun. It's fun jumping out of airplanes. Why not? But if you do it every day, sometimes it can become a little tedious. But the point is, the whole thing out here is go after something you really love. Okay, because if you're just there to make the money or just trying to just ride a wave of some kind, believe me, it's not gonna help. Okay, there's a very small percentage of people who are able to do that, but to create a real business, it takes a lot of blood and sweat, tears included. Okay, and sometimes you are crying, and sometimes the people around you are crying. So the point is, it's that's that it's an extreme sport, and so if you like extreme sports, choose the extreme sport that you really love, and you don't mind jumping out of an airplane every day, then go for it. Because yes, we have. I mean, according to the worldview, we are successful at this stage. But I think for us, success was to be able to do what you love doing every day. For me, that is success. Right. So the point is, according to our own mental makeup, I think for myself and our team, we were already having a great time. Now we have more financial resources. I agree. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. No, because, the reason I ask is, because I know you also have you have any other family members in the team, or is just...
Yes. So my brother is the co-founder. He's on the technical side. He was a developer at Microsoft, and I was a business person, so it was the best combination. And that again goes back to what I was saying earlier. I mean, I get to work with my brother and we get along really well. So hey, what can I ask for?
That's awesome though. That's awesome. Because my family, they have their own business and stuff. So I do understand, the family dynamics. It can be, it can get interesting, but also at the same time too, when you talk about entrepreneurship, I'm like, from the outside, it sounds fun and stuff, but of course, there are. When you mention about overnight success, you are right to say, I mean, there's long years of behind the scenes sweat and blood, tears. I mean, you name it. So I'm just actually impressed, and also I'm glad that you got to share that story. Because that's something like for young guys like me, we need to hear that. And I know. As much as we like to watch a lot of YouTube videos and Gary Vee videos and stuff, but end of the day, you gotta kind of put things in action, right? So,
no, I think it's the best time in the world right now, Marcus, to go and do something, right? Again, the bottom line is it's good to actually learn a few things before you jump into something. I would highly recommend, because people get an idea and they're like, oh my God, I'm just going to go and do this thing. Find industries and or companies which are related, and go and just work there for free for a few months. I don't think anybody's gonna have a problem with that. And learn the business a little bit, because when you start your own company and you put every penny of your savings into it, you don't have that many chances. So the point is, why are you going to go completely fresh into a new business, without just an idea? So get some ground experience before you actually do your thing. So in our particular case, while we were building out our product, we were still consulting with a lot of our potential customers, and, we were just giving, again, in most cases, everybody has some skill that they can market, some kind of a service, like in our case, we were consulting on marketing projects, video streaming stuff, and so forth, right? Because we were experts in that. So whatever business you're getting into, start a consulting business on the side associated to that. First of all, it keeps you real, because you're inside the industry and you're seeing in reality what is going on. You're not inside your bubble, inside your garage, and thinking that, oh my God, man, I got the best thing here. So like having the pulse of the real market is very good. And then once your product is out, you also have, the connections in that industry to actually show them the stuff. You're not just coming there fresh, out of your garage, like, hey man, I just saw the light of day after 2 years, because then you're completely out of touch with the reality of stuff. Right. So the point is, if you are planning on starting your own business, get a consulting gig in that world, or work for free if you don't have the skills yet. Right. But learn, from the real world, and use those learnings to better your product, to sharpen your image, your vision better, and so that when you go to market, you already have connections, you have a really good understanding of what is happening in the real world, and your product is actually going to become a fit faster versus not, right?
Yeah, great. Yeah. No, agreed. No, those are really good points. And one thing I want to ask you about is, you have built a distributed workforce. So, like, how are you able to do that? Could you just shed some light on that,
certainly.
or?
Yeah. I mean, the point is at this stage, there is lots of tools available right now. There's lots of companies out there who help you do that, in terms of they'll do all the paperwork for you if you have people in different parts of the world. Upwork, UPWORK, is a great place to start because you've got
Right.
amazing talent from all across the world there. If you like some people there, again, we were using Upwork for many years, over the years, and we had established some amazing connections through Upwork. So when our company started, on a growth trajectory, we actually hired a lot of those people who were mostly contractors with us before, right? So I think those kind of
Okay.
places where there's a marketplace, for talent is a great place because you get to work with them a little bit. You don't have to immediately hire them first, right? So you get to work with them a little bit and see their skill set. And yeah, if they're great, you bring them on board. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Okay. No, that's good to know. That's really great to know. And one more thing with regards to events, because I know a lot of people I met over here will start their own events. Thing is that, like, I think for them it's more like events is not a money making strategy. It's part of their it's a cost of business. So I guess you understand the question I'm going to come up with is like, how can an organization can turn an event into to have an ROI? So
Again, two different kinds of events, Marcus. So what you're talking about on one side is a company, a corporation doing an event. The event is what they use for branding purposes and for lead generation purposes and so
Okay.
forth. They don't make money off it for the most part. And then there's other companies out there whose job is to do events. Like they're a third party. This is not their core business. They're an event company, and they'll do an event for cryptocurrency or whatever's the latest trend in the market, right? And
Sure,
they make
yeah.
their money from ticketing, and they make their money from sponsors and exhibitors. So if you want to start a small event, again, you have to draw at least some amazing speakers. You got to build some kind of a community, and then
Right.
then the sponsors and exhibitors will come, because that's what they are there for. They're there for the kind of people who will come who could potentially become their customers. So the goal is focus on yes, impart knowledge, but then on the other side also understand that in the same way as you are sitting here trying to figure out, how can I become part of this next wave, the cryptocurrency blockchain wave? Well, there's
Okay.
thousands and thousands of people across the world who are in the same spot as you. So like having an event that focuses just on, hey, how do you start a blockchain business? And then, there's a bunch of vendors who will, sell you their services on how to do that. So there's some speakers who will talk about how to start a blockchain business, your own token, whatever cryptocurrency, and
Yeah.
plus, by the way, here's those 10 technologies, who are going to be exhibiting and also tell you how to start and where to start and how much they were going to charge you. So it's like a workshop of like being a crypto entrepreneur, blockchain entrepreneur, starting your own blockchain crypto deal. How do you do that? Where do you start? That's a great event. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. No. This is a pretty great info, though. But anyways, I know we are almost at the end, so I would love to give you the closing remarks. And where can people find you if they want to start? They need help with coming up with their own events and or maybe create their own virtual hybrid events. So what they need to do.
Yeah, certainly. So I think, the best place to find us is on social27.com, which is our website. You can certainly contact us from there. But again, my team is always on LinkedIn as well. I'm there, very active on LinkedIn. So yeah, please feel free to find us, social27 on our website and or LinkedIn. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Anyways, I thank you so much for delivering such a great info about events and the technology behind hybrid events, and especially Social27. And once again, hey, congratulations on success. And I know bigger things are the best is yet to come. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Marcus, for having me. This was a pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Take it easy now. Anyways, everybody, y'all be good. Y'all be safe. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.